Which brings us to our speaker today. And this theme was very important to me because I have lived like a nomad since 2021. Since 2021, I have not had a permanent address. Everything I own is in the backpack that's in the back over there because that's the life of a nomad. So this topic was very important to me because traveling around the world, and especially in places like Mexico, you're kind of torn about whether your life is helping or hurting the world. So that's why I'm very excited to welcome our speaker today. So Hari KC, in his bio, this is a very apt description, doesn't study migration, he brings it to life. He is a scholar, an educator, and a policy expert. His work connects cutting-edge research with real-world policy and human stories. He is the Research Fellow for the Canada Excellence Research Chair, CERT, in Migration and Integration, right here at TMU. He was also the co-lead for the CERT project, Digital Nomadism, the changing world of migration, mobility, and work. Hari's work explores how the rise of digital nomads and international remote workers is reshaping the way people move, live, and work across borders. So ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause. Please welcome our speaker for today, Hari KC.
And good morning, everybody.
Morning. Morning.
It's such a great delight to be among creative people, a room full of creative people. So first of all, thank you, Creative Mornings Toronto, for having me. And I thank you all for being here early this morning to think about the paradox of the digital nomad together. So here is a question I want to ask you. How many of you here are digital nomads or have been at some point digital nomads? Okay, here, 2, 3. Oh, what a number. Great. The other question before we move on, how many of you here have the aspirations of becoming a digital nomad? Oh, okay. You're in the middle somewhere. Okay, great. Great. Okay, no worries. Let's move on. So if you want to be a digital nomad, this is the kind of life, perhaps this is the kind of life you want. Right? Okay. A laptop, a cool smoothie or drink, right? The pristine nature working from a cafe. It seems like perfect, beautiful blend between two worlds, work and leisure. Of it, nomad. So here is an important question. Is this the future of work and mobility? Or is nomadism just colonialism with a mask on? Is this a net positive for the world or a net negative for the world? These are hard questions. And over the last 10 years, these are some of the questions I have been trying to tackle, explore. Right? And for the last 2 years, on this particular topic, nomadism, with the CERT program at TMU. So, in my talk today, I will be sharing some of the insights from my work. But this morning, I want to focus on one central theme. That is the paradox of the nomad. But before doing that, let's first step back and take a look at the digital nomad population in the world today. As of 2024, the estimated number of digital nomads was 45 25 million. That's a big number. But digital nomads, when they travel, they do not officially register. So this is only the estimated number. Right? And the other thing is nomadism can be adopted, embraced in different forms, in a variety of ways. So it is very difficult to exactly know the number of digital nomads globally. Right? But it has exploded from a niche experimental lifestyle to global industry today, right? Especially after the pandemic. Right? On social media, it is packaged with endless freedom, mobility, and the dream of working from anywhere with a laptop and with Wi-Fi. Right? But here is the question we need to ask. Who exactly gets to live the dream? This dream. And which countries do most of these digital nomads come from? Which are the countries of origin? This brings me to the first paradox of my talk this morning. Are digital nomads really privileged? Or, in some ways, they are deprived or precarious. So, in my research, they are privileged in many ways. But when we talk about privilege, whose privilege are we talking about? This is an important question. So, before we get to the answer to this question, I would like to ask you a couple of questions. Then I would like you to spend 30 seconds, not more than that, right? Working, in groups of 2, 3, 4, and share your answer with me. All right? Okay. So these are the 2 questions. What is the best passport to have? Which is the worst passport to have? But what I mean by best is the most powerful passport and least powerful passport. Not in any derogatory sense. Best and worst. Actually, I shared this question, this question with my little one, 8-year-old, yesterday, and she said, no passport is the worst in the world. And when I said best, your passport, the country you come from, is the best. Okay, so here it starts, 30 seconds. And please talk to someone beside you, and I will take you. What do you think? Jamaica. Oh, okay. So then the worst passport you have? Yes, please.
The United Arab States, just based on how many countries they can enter and.
Great. Great research. I really appreciate it. Okay.
Swiss passport, like if you Swiss chocolates, you need your passport renewed.
Okay. Yes, please.
No.
North Korea?
Oh, Korea. Okay. So let's look at what the data says. Okay, the best passport in the world is Singaporean passport, and the Singaporeans can travel to 192 countries visa-free. And the least powerful passport is Afghanistan, and they can travel to only 27 countries in the world visa-free. And this ranking is based on Henley Passport Index, the latest report of 2025, and they draw on data from International Air Transport Association. This keeps changing, right? Okay. Now, what about the Canadian passport? And you could just have to take one answer. How many countries can they travel visa-free? Oh, wonderful, great, yes. Okay, right? More than 180, right? I don't know, 83. Okay, great. Right, it's close to the top, right? Okay, including some of the holy spots for digital nomads like Mexico, Indonesia, Thailand, right? So, if Canadian passport holders want to become digital nomads, it's easier, right, for them, right, to travel internationally. So here is a comparative list of top most powerful passports in the world and the least powerful passports in the world. But here, the most powerful is at the bottom. It's upside down. The least powerful is Afghanistan. Right? We see a clear picture here, right? Who are better privileged to embrace nomadism and who encounter walls, right, at borders. Right? It is obvious. But if you are Nigerian, or a Filipino, or Mozambican, or Nepali, or Indian, Nepal, that's where I originally come from, right? Would it be LGT? The answer is obvious. Right? But all nomads, they do not drink coconut on the beach. Right? There are some trade-offs, right? For example, being away from family and friends for a long time, isolation, right? Working in different time zones, right? These are, working in crowded spaces and finding housing, right, on a permanent basis, as Ifan said, right? Not having home. These are some of the trade-offs. Right? Freedom is traded off with some of the challenges. And then there is this bureaucracy. They live in a sort of policy gray zone, right? Visa rules, taxes, local rules and regulations, they keep changing. They're often murky. And digital nomads are left with, figuring this out on a permanent basis. But despite the challenges, right, nomadism, especially from the rich countries of the global north, has grown, is on the rise, especially to the global south countries. Why? This brings us to the second paradox of my talk. Nomadism versus migration. Here's a question. Are nomads migrants? The other way around. Are migrants nomads? Very incompatible, right? Let's explore this together. Now, for many people, especially in the global north, in Europe, in North America, Australia, nomadism has become a survival strategy. Right? Why this has become a survival strategy? It's because housing is increasingly becoming unaffordable. Gig work is insecure. Safety nets are shrinking. Right? So therefore, Pharisee coined the term geo-arbitrage to describe this kind of adaptive strategy. So in this sense, nomadism is a form of migration. It is similar to economic migration in some ways, right? For example, South Asian migrant workers working in the Gulf countries. So here is an image of South Asian migrant workers in Dubai. They also cross borders right? But what is, for what to take what is called the treaty work, dirty, difficult, and dangerous work, right? But we level them differently. We call nomads expats, and these people are migrant workers, right? Okay, so in Dubai Marina, I conducted my field work, and then I could see an interesting link between nomadism and migration. Many nomads in Dubai, which is a hot spot for these nomads, live in those tall buildings, right? And work from cafes, right? But what is ironic is that these tall buildings were built by cheap labor of South Asian migrant workers, and the people, the waiters and waitresses who serve in cafes, they are migrant girls and boys, migrants from South Asia. Right? And their lives as migrant workers is getting more costly and becoming more difficult because of the surge of nomads. And this brings me to the third and final paradox I wanted to talk to you today. So what is the impact of nomads? Development? Positive? Extraction? Negative? Governments and locals, they look at nomadism differently. Governments around the world, over 50 countries, have introduced new visa policies, right? They roll the red carpet to welcome and attract digital nomads because they say that they need them because they create jobs, contribute to economies, right? And then, what about the locals think of nomads? Let's look at two case studies very quickly. Mexico. In Mexico, where I conducted my field work, especially in two urban centers, in Roma and Condesa, which are always buzzed with nomads. Right? I talked to the local people, and they said that the impact of nomadism for local people has been very negative, right? Price hikes and then displacement of people from city centers to peripheries, right? People, waiters and waitresses who work in restaurants and cafes to serve nomads, they have to travel 2 hours because they live far away from the city center because they cannot afford to live nearby. And gentrification. I learned this word in Mexico City. Gentrification. Everybody, it's on the tip of the tongue, right? Gentrification, right? And especially indigenous people and people who are already on the margin of the society are more impacted by nomadism. And local people have protested around the world, especially in early 2024. Gringo Go Home was sort of movement. And I could see walls painted with Gringo Go Home, right, in Mexico City. But in Dubai, I saw a different version of the paradox. The biggest impacts were not on the local Emiratis, but on South Asian immigrants, migrants, which cheap labor keeps the city moving, right? While nomads, as well as the local Emiratis, their lives are luxurious, right? So their affluence depends on the cheap labor of South Asian migrants and high-spending digital nomads. So therefore, all these inequalities, right? Global mobility is not neutral at all. It is engineered by history, politics, power, economics, right? So there are vestiges and echoes of colonialism, right, in new forms. But how do we move ahead, forward, is the crucial question, right? So, it does not mean that this is the reality in which we are living. We cannot reject it, right? There is no other way, but to do it in an ethical way. So what does that mean? In Mexico City, for example, I met the nomads were coming together to launch an initiative which they call Gringo Tax to support local communities, local people, local development initiatives. And this could be done in other ways, right? Following local laws and rules and cultures, right? And so on. So, finally, movement sparks imagination, but when it is without responsibility, it becomes extraction. So I finally conclude by saying that the real joy isn't in finding yourself somewhere unexpected. It's seeing what's already there and choosing to hit it. Thank you very much.
Great for Harry KC, everybody. Thanks for joining. And Hari will be here to answer questions afterward and everything, but for the next 2 minutes, what I'd like everyone to do right now is, in little groups of 2 or 3 around you, what's one thing that stood out to you that you're going to remember, that you're going to walk away with? Something that surprised you? Discuss it in little groups of 4 or 5. Just turn around, sit at your table. We'll give you 2 minutes. 3, 2, 1, go. Make little groups.